Dudes and dudettes, how are you guys? This is Chazzy and welcome back to Chazzy, the segment on my channel where I talk about the TV shows that I watch, And the show that I'm going to talk about today is a little old, it's not really relevant, but I would go on to say that it is unanimously regarded as one of the greatest television series of all time, Breaking Bad. Now here's the thing, guys, before we get into it, you guys if you watch my other Chazzy series reviews, right, you're going to notice that I try to include where I can in every video scenes from the TV shows that I talk about, right? But there is a chance that for this video I'm only gonna have clips from the first season of Breaking Bad, because some issues of trying to get the videos from YouTube and that kind of stuff, but anyway, on with the show, right? Breaking Bad is a series that actually ended quite a while ago, but I only got around to watching it recently. I actually kind of watched it with a cousin of mine, who lives in another state, and I loved it. I really loved it. I talked about it on Twitter a lot. I gave it a solid 5 out of 5 stars on my Twitter review, and I'm going to carry that over onto YouTube today, Now, here's the thing. The show has 5 seasons, and across those 5 seasons, a lot of things happen, and it's been a while since I finished watching it, guys, and every season is similar, so I'm going to talk about them, not exactly going season to season, but just talking about what I remember and giving it a general analysis, and as always, I'm trying to record my videos with a stopwatch, a timer in the background, so I can kind of keep track, I failed to do that with my 13 Reasons Why review, and it got way too long, so here we go, alright? So the thing with Breaking Bad, to those of you who don't know it is about a chemistry teacher called Walter White, who is dying. He's diagnosed with cancer, and he wants to leave behind a lot of money to provide for his family after he dies from the illness, So he starts fabricating and selling methamphetamine, crystal meth, to people around town so he can make money, He essentially becomes a drug dealer, Now, the first season is focused a lot on the upbringing, on how it begins, And he teams up with Jesse Pinkman, a former student of his, to try to he's the fabricator, he creates the drugs, and Jesse is the one who sells them, It's actually a very intricately woven show with a lot of really cool details, and how Walter, he starts to rise up, At first they start making their meth in a really crappy RV out in the middle of the desert, in the hot climate and all that, But eventually, as time goes on, they start to become a little better, more developed, Eventually Walter shaves his head, to get that iconic Walter White look, He starts calling himself Heisenberg, and he starts cooking in an actual meth lab, and well, the rest is history. That's pretty much the basis of the show, But a lot of things happen, Along the way, we see a lot of tension with Walter and his family, his wife Skyler and his son Walter Jr. And the character dynamics are very powerful in this show, And I honestly think that out of all the TV shows that I've watched, this is probably where the acting was the best, or if not one of the best, And the thing is that everything was so raw, And Bryan Cranston really deserved all of the critical acclaim that he received for being on this show, One hell of a good actor, I think everyone acted well. Everyone acted really well, but I think that Bryan Cranston was actually the best, But as incredible as it sounds, he wasn't even my favorite character. I would go on to say my favorite character was actually Hank Schrader. I don't know why. I just thought he was such a really, rough around the edges, tough guy, who had a heart of gold, And he is actually Walter's brother-in-law, His sister Maria is married to Walter's, her sister, Maria her sister is Walter's wife. So, they kind of had that brother-in-law conflict. And the thing with Walter is that for the longest time, across the first 2 seasons, he is a compulsive liar, And here's the thing, lying is always bad, guys. It's never a good idea to lie, especially to your wife, like Walter did in this case. But he actually starts to weave a very interesting web of lies, He starts to get really good at it, And he actually has a lot of really good alibis, to ad-lib to what he's doing, behind the scenes. But of course, Skyler eventually does find out later down the line, and it was actually very chilling at the end of an episode. I do believe it was at the end of season 2, but I don't remember, where Skyler finally finds out everything and leaves Walter with their newborn daughter, And it's crazy because, the way that she finds out is amazing, because when it comes to lying to somebody, if they find out the truth about one lie, then naturally there's going to be a chain reaction and all of the other lies are going to come apart, which is exactly what happened at a very key moment in the show, which I thought was really cool. Now, the relationship between Walter and his family members starts to get more and more strained. You know, that's actually to be expected after what we're dealing with. And it's actually really nice to see the moments where they drift apart but then start to come together again, you know. All the while, Walter is trying really hard to provide for his family, you know. He's actually paying for his own cancer treatment with the money he's making selling meth, you know. But he starts lying and saying that it's from the donations from friends of his, you know. And things start to really get out of control, you know. When Walter is diagnosed with cancer, everyone starts trying to help him, you know, get through it, and he starts trying really hard to make money with the meth, you know. There's actually a very, very sweet relationship with him and Jesse, you know. At first, they're actually very good partners. There's almost kind of like a father-son dynamic, you know, where Jesse starts messing up and then Walter tries really hard to help him put his life around, you know. Jesse is a very complicated character, you know, and I think that he's the one who suffers the most in the series. That goes without saying, you know, and he evolves quite a lot by the end. It takes him a long time to actually grow and mature and actually become an adult, but he gets put through the ringer quite a lot, you know, and he eventually changes even the way that he dresses, you know. It's actually nice to see him try to put his life together, you know. He rents out a really nice house and tries to start fresh and stay away from drugs. He gets a girlfriend named Jane, you know. It's really cool to see him, you know, trying to balance that out, but eventually he does relapse, actually more than a few times. He starts using again, you know, and then it starts to become kind of like Justin levels of annoying. Justin from 13 Reasons Why, lying to everyone, you know. It starts to get really annoying, but the dynamics, the development between him and Walter White, you know, is actually really cool. It's actually really sweet because throughout the entire series, Jesse always calls him Mr. White, never Walter, because I guess he always kind of saw him as his high school chemistry teacher, you know. But anyway, as the series goes on, they start to get a little estranged with one another. They make up a few times, but then they get estranged again, you know. So there are times when it almost feels like they're gonna kill each other, you know. And then at one point, they're actually really close. It's like they really are father and son, you know. It's a very twisted and confusing relationship, the one that they have, you know. But it's a relationship all the same. And Walter makes a lot of friends, but also a lot of enemies. I do believe it was season 2 that started out pretty insanely, you know, with Tuco, who was a drug dealer, you know, kidnapping them and taking them to a remote location. You know, I think he was going to go with them to take them to Mexico to keep making drugs and all of that. You know, a very crazy character, Tuco. Very well played by the actor whose name I am not going to remember, but very memorable. A lot of really memorable characters on the show. Even the minor side characters are memorable. You know, I think that, you know, it was really well done and well cast too. Now, the story itself, guys, is very heavy. It's very tense and dramatic, you know, and there are a few more lighter moments, you know, and as the seasons go on, like the relationship between Walter and his wife, Skylar, is officially, in season 3, I think it hits fever pitch levels, you know, it starts boiling and coming apart, but then I do believe it's in season 4 that they sort of kind of rekindle because Skylar says that she's going to launder his money, his drug money, you know, and she actually starts getting looped into the family business, let's say, you know. She actually starts to help him pull this off because they really do need the money, you know. And the thing is that Skylar is a woman of very basic principles, you know, and she really wants to do the right thing, so her conscience screams a lot louder than the money that Walter is making to help out the family, you know. And of course, it puts a strain on their little daughter's relationship too, you know, the baby who was born. I forgot the baby's name. But anyway, this is probably my favorite subplot in the entire series across all the 5 seasons, which is Hank Schrader. The police, he's a police detective, right? He's trying so hard to catch this Heisenberg guy. He becomes obsessed with it, trying as hard as he can, even after he gets shot, you know, and is bedridden for God knows how long. I forgot how long. He tries so hard to keep, to catch Heisenberg, who is literally right under his nose the entire time, you know? And there are a few moments where you feel like Hank is about to catch Walter, but then Walter gradually slips away, you know? Because as the seasons go on, Walter becomes gradually better and better at lying, you know? He becomes better at manipulating, you know? And I think that that's kind of what sells the illusion, you know, to some degree. That's what makes Walter really be Heisenberg, you know? And of course, eventually at the end, you know, I'm kind of jumping a little bit ahead here, but that's how it is. I'm just gonna talk about this in a random order, you know? Yes, eventually Hank does find out that it's Walter, but tragically, and in probably the saddest moment that I have seen in any television series, Hank is shot dead by one of the bad guys, and that just that just killed me on the inside, man. You know, he was my favorite character, and I did not want him to die at all. Just as he was starting to kind of understand his wife a little better, you know, he called her and everything was okay. You know, he finally caught the guy, and that's when all hell broke loose, and that was probably the worst moment of the series for me, you know. Walter does die in the end, that's probably expected, but no death will ever hit me harder than Hank. Now, Walter does start to get into some really heavy stuff. You know, he starts looking for different dealers, and eventually at one point he meets Gus Fringe, or Fringo, one of those names, you know, who is very likely, this is where things start to become a little difficult to explain, because Hank Schrader is my favorite character, but so is Gus. You know, but if you want to make it easier, Hank is my favorite protagonist, and you could call Gus my favorite antagonist, you know. And I don't know if it's the character himself or the actor who portrayed him, you know, but the guy did such a good job, you know, because Gus is the mastermind behind everything, you know. He is the one, he actually owns Polo Chicken, this franchise, right? Something about a chicken joint, I don't know. And he is a very nice guy. He seems very down to earth, very simple, you know, very nice, you know, a very straightforward man, you know. You look at him, you know, and he's always like, he gives you a nice little dry smile, he shakes your hand, he seems like the nicest guy in the world. You would never suspect that this guy is one of the biggest drug dealers in the underworld, you know, on the underground scene there. He's been doing this for about 20 years or so and never got caught, never was suspected once, you know. And when he starts dealing with Walter, things start to get serious, because that's when they are given a lab to actually produce the meth, you know. And Gus is a very intimidating fellow. Gus is very, very intimidating, you know. Like, just watching the show, I got goosebumps seeing the guy, you know. It was really, really freaky. And to some degree, he actually intimidated me a lot, you know. And I think that, like, he was very cold-hearted in some instances, you know. And we got some a little glimpse of his backstory of how he was back in the day. I think it was in Cuba or Mexico, dealing with some Latin drug lords, you know, where his own partner was killed in front of him, you know. And the dynamics are pretty crazy, you know. So Gus eventually tries to get his revenge by killing Hector, which is an old man who was always part of the drug cartel, you know. There was a moment when we get two bald brothers who are part of the cartel, kind of like a Wisin y Yandel kind of thing, you know, who also died pretty painfully, you know. And Gus eventually does die himself, but not before he causes quite a bit of damage, you know. He kills a guy very brutally in the lab. That was probably the guy cuts the poor bastard's throat. I don't even want to get into that too much, but Gus is horrifying. You know, he is the perfect antagonist. He's the perfect villain, you know. He's not exactly all powerful like Thanos or all encompassing like Darth Vader or something, but he's just a perfectly down-to-earth bad guy, you know. He kills people indiscriminately. He even threatened to kill Walter's infant daughter, you know. That's just crazy. And he does die in a very brutal way at the very end, you know, where he gets caught in an explosion. Then you see him walking out of the room with half of his body singed off, you know, melted, and then he adjusts his tie and falls, you know. Very crazy, unrealistic, but crazy all the same. You know, and I'm going to talk a little bit about Soul now. Soul, which actually got his own spin-off show called Better Call Saul, which I really should watch. Saul is the lawyer, you know. He's present in a very good number of seasons, a very good number of episodes, and he's actually a very good lawyer. Of course, he does things under the radar. He's never gotten caught, but he's really, really cool. I really like that character, man. You know, he's so witty, you know, very slapstick, you know. He has a really good sense of humor, you know, but he also knows when to be serious, you know. He keeps his own little stash of money. He's always in the middle of everything. He's always between Walter and Jesse and Skyler, you know. He's always there in the middle, trying to negotiate with everyone the best way possible, you know. And I think that Soul is a really, really cool character. I won't say too much about him because there's really not much to say, you know. I'm trying to remember some instances here where I saw him, but nothing really specific comes to mind. But I will definitely watch Better Call Saul later down the road and review it too here on Telechazi.
Don't.
I have to talk to her.
You don't have to. You answer that
saying.
phone, and Schrader's on the other end of the line with a legal wiretap recording everything you say. You're not doing anybody any favors except for him. In fact, why do you still have a battery in that thing? Take it out. Yeah, they might be trying to triangulate your movements. I'm not being paranoid. Do it.
Now, the thing that I most love about this series is the suspense, you know, the thriller factor, you know, because they build a lot of tension around certain scenes, you know. Like when you see that Walter is about to get caught or about to get, you know, I don't know, maybe shot by a henchman or something, you know, there's a lot of tension that's being built. And the show doesn't really, as far as I remember, they don't really work too much with cliffhangers, you know. They don't leave too much to the imagination in the next episode. You kind of know what's gonna happen. I can't remember if there were any notable cliffhangers, but there were a few instances where I just binge watched, you know, because when it comes to a show that I really like, you know, like Breaking Bad, I binge watch, guys. I watch several episodes a day, you know. Sometimes I watch them at night too when I'm laying in bed. I watch on my TV, then I lay down and I watch them on my phone while laying down in bed, you know. When I really get into a show, it's hard to stop watching. And I really, really like Breaking Bad. I think it was really, really cool. And it's nice how the show started off. I don't know when the series started, but you can tell that it was very old-timey. You know how the first season was shot, almost like a grainy, old-style footage. And towards the 5th season, it started to get a lot more HD, you know. Kind of like Friends, you know, another show that I should have reviewed because I watched it some time ago. But yeah, you know, and I think that I'm trying to think of anything else that I can say, but honestly, the soundtrack was good, the music was nice, you know, the cast was really well, everyone acted really well. There was a character named Ted who was Skyler's boss at a company she went to work with again, you know, and she found out that he was doing some tax evasion, you know, he was breaking the law, but he seemed like such a nice guy and wasn't really doing it. He just wanted to help his people. And then Skyler takes a lot of Walter's money and hands it to him so he can try to turn the company around, but he starts embellishing and spending it on himself, you know, and yeah, it's a whole crazy thing, you know. And yeah, at that point, the relationship between her and Walter is just gone, you know, it's gone. There was a really weird episode with a fly, which people think is the whole entire episode was a metaphor for not escaping from your problems or anything, when Walter was trying to find a fly in the laboratory. But anyway, so yeah, very nice characters, you know. I think the main cast was really cool. You got Hank and Skyler, you know, and Maria, and also Walter and Jesse, you know. They're kind of the main characters, the ones who drive things into overkill sometimes, you know, depending on their dynamics. And yeah, I think it was really cool. Jesse starts getting eventually he gets caught, you know, and gets trapped. I forgot under what circumstances. He becomes kind of a slave to a group of men, you know. And it also, there was a nod to that scene in El Camino, which was the Breaking Bad movie that I also saw, which I will review too, you know. It's kind of like its own thing. But I think that's pretty much it, guys, you know. I think that, like, probably been talking for almost 20 minutes now, you know, 15 or 20 minutes. That's pretty much it, you know. I don't want these reviews to be too detailed and too in-depth, you know, because if these videos get too long, you guys might not even want to watch them. But I think it was really cool. I think that the series was really cool, very good dynamics, you know. Character development was really strong, you know. Everyone acted their asses off, and they really deserve all of the awards that they got if they did. Bryan Cranston is the king of TV, baby, you know. And I think that's it, really. I'm trying to remember anything else that I can say. A lot of action-packed scenes, you know, a few gunfights here and there, you know. There are a few scenes of graphic violence, you know, but nothing too heavy, you know. And I think that the idea of a man desperate, you know, with cancer, trying to sell meth to, you know, try to provide for his family is really cool. There are a few tense moments between him and Skyler where Walter pretty much threatens her, and she says that she really hopes that he'll just die. She can't wait for his cancer to come back, but those are just specific scenes, whatnot.
You clearly don't know who you're talking to, so let me clue you in. I am not in danger, Skyler. I am the danger. A guy opens his door and gets shot, and you think that of me? No. I am the one who knocks.
And guys, I really think that's it, you know. Breaking Bad, 5 seasons, you know. I watched all of them, but I think that that's pretty much it that I can say, you know. That's kind of like a basic analysis, a little review of what I thought about the show, you know. Very cool, very pulse-pounding, you know, a lot of suspense and tension, you know. There's a little bit of comic relief here and there, you know, but just enough tension to make it still be the serious show that it is, you know. I definitely recommend it. That goes without saying if you still haven't watched it, you know. And if you have, drop a comment letting me know if you did and what you thought about it. I give it a perfect 5 out of 5 stars, you know, a 10 out of 10, all that you want to say. And I think that's it. I apologize again at the end of the video if I don't sound very enthusiastic. It's because I'm really tired. You know, I've been working recently. I've got a new job, and I have to wake up really early in the morning and walk in the hot sun there and then back to my house. It's really exhausting, but I'm enjoying it, you know. I'm gonna talk a little bit about that in a future video, but I hope you guys enjoyed my review of Breaking Bad. You know, it's really nice to add another episode to my Telechazi playlist. So that's it. Just how bad is Walter White? Very bad. He even kills people at some point. He starts killing indiscriminately almost, you know, so he becomes a certified badass. Yes, that's pretty much it, guys. That's pretty much it. A very few tense scenes like when Jesse is kicked out of his house, you know, but yeah, it's just things that you guys will see watching the show. And that's it. This is Chazi signing out for now, and as always, I will see you guys in the next video.